Nintendo UK, Long Lost Memories. Nintendo Germany, Langs vergessene Erinnerungen. Nintendo France, Souvenir oublié. Nintendo Netherlands, Lang verloren Erinnerungen. Koei Tecmo Japan, Shirarezaru Hyaku nen Maya no Kyoku. All of these translate to long lost memories, long forgotten memories, again long lost memories, this time in the Netherlands, and most importantly from Koei Tecmo Japan, unknown memory from 100 years ago. Keep in mind that plural writing is not used the same way in Japanese. Memories, which in Breath of the Wild and in real life are events we recall from our past in the present, long after they transpired. With time, some of these are lost until they are recalled by an object, usually a photograph or video, or by visiting a certain location, just like we did with the memories in Breath of the Wild. The message of these titles for the Age of Calamity trailers would have been loud and clear if it wasn't for Nintendo of America's decision to title their trailers as Untold Chronicles from 100 years ago, creating confusion about what kind of story Age of Calamity really is. Namely, a story about the past retold for you in the present by the characters that were there with you 100 years ago. Friends that will fill out the missing details that were not photographed and thus not possible to recollect from the Sheikah slate. Naturally, the number of main characters still left from 100 years ago that can also relate to Link, the hero of Hyrule, and the events he took part in 100 years ago are greatly limited. Specifically one Hylian, possibly a few Zora, 3 Sheikah, and also some spiritual beings. Those being Princess Zelda, Old King Dorephan, some of the older Zora veterans, and possibly Prince Sidon, who shared close private moments with his sister, Princess Mipha. Them, but also Old Impa, Robbie, and whatever you want to classify Purah, that being a child or a granny. Oh, and the mighty trees. The Great Deku Tree, and the source of 900 frustrations, Hestu. Anyway, it is possible that instead of using much of Breath of the Wild's sequel's first hours to explain what happened in the past, it is instead done through Age of Calamity, a game that could serve as the last hurrah or retrospective to the Age of Calamity 100 years ago and the ancient battle 10,000 years ago. An age which ended when Calamity Ganon and Dark Beast Ganon were defeated at the end of Breath of the Wild. Now, in this time of Re-One Piece, Link could recollect the remaining memories, so that he can become the Hylian he was before he fell 100 years ago. And we know that Link's memories and true identity were of great importance to Princess Zelda, as the first thing she asked Link after meeting up with him after 100 years was...
May I ask, do you really remember me?
Then if all of the memories provided in Breath of the Wild were recollected and all the divine beasts freed before confronting Ganon, we got the true ending, which starts with one of the greatest hints of one of the locations we might be heading to recollect more of our memories.
We'll make our way to Zora's domain. Divine Beast Varuta. Looks like it's stopped working. Let's investigate the situation. Mipha's father. I believe he would like to hear more about her. The least we can do is visit him and offer him some closure. Although Ganon is gone for now, there is still so much more for us to do, and so many painful memories that we must bear.
Painful memories from 100 years ago. And even more painful if you don't press that like button and consider subscribing and pressing that notification bell, and again for all notifications, as YouTube is not notifying you otherwise. Anyway, the truth cannot be hidden or ignored. It must be confronted. Calamity Ganon didn't act alone. He had allies beyond the monsters that would be resurrected after every blood moon. The kingdom of Hyrule went straight into their trap and fell as a result. The monster that caused that downfall may be gone, but the mastermind and the factions behind the monstrosity are still around. In other words, Link must know everything that happened 100 years ago from the characters who were there with him. Zelda, Impa, Robbie, Purah, the Great Deku Tree, Hestu, and Dorephan. All of them have more to tell, and as such it is entirely possible that we will not only be traveling from location to location 100 years ago, but also in the present. Without the full understanding of the tragedy, Link cannot embark to face the conflict that lays ahead. The war is not over, and Link, through his memories in Breath of the Wild, did not recollect his experiences as a warrior from the battles he took part in the name of the Kingdom of Hyrule and her allies, only his time with the champions and Zelda between the bigger battles. Now, you could say that the scene where Link and Zelda were cornered by the Guardians and Link and Zelda watching down on the pile of defeated monsters sent by Ganon should count, but not really, as these were individual skirmishes where Link only had one aim: to fulfill his duty of protecting Princess Zelda. The same goes for the only action we see from the Master Sword in Breath of the Wild's memories, slicing down that one eager foot soldier to save Princess Zelda's life from certain death, and then dispersing the two other ones. In other words, Link still doesn't remember the two invasions, only the prelude and aftermath. The memories didn't cover what happened after Calamity Ganon's awakening until everything was lost and Zelda had her breakdown, and that is where we are heading after the victory against Dark Beast Ganon.
First to Kakariko Village, where Impa is waiting with new clothes for Zelda. That takes place before the true ending we saw in Breath of the Wild. Then to Zora's Domain, where Mipha's father is waiting. And finally to the Lost Woods and the Great Deku Tree. Here it might be revealed that the time to return the Master Sword has not yet arrived. And this is how I feel we could journey to the present, both before and after the post-credits scene of the true ending found in Breath of the Wild. Telling the full prequel story while concluding the original and leading into the sequel. So how do we think this could unfold in Age of Calamity? Simple, right after the final battle of Breath of the Wild. Link and Zelda riding triumphantly on their horses into Kakariko Village, both of them being greeted by Impa, Pyre and the rest of the village. Zelda changes from her ruined prayer dress into her exploration gear, and the talk begins inside Impa's house. With it, we are pulled back to the last victory in Central Hyrule Field against monsters, and the first mission of Age of Calamity. A truly seamless transition into the gameplay setting for Age of Calamity 100 years ago, as Link finally remembers his service to the king and country. Specifically King Rome, who looks like the strongest ruler throughout the entire Zelda series, commanding his own army and wielding his royal claymore with one hand when necessary to show how it's done to his royal guard. Obviously the first battles can easily be recollected from Kakariko, especially if Purah and Robbie come over to see the princess again for the first time in a century. And that way we continue until we get to the battles in Lanayru and Zora's Domain, where Link and Zelda depart Kakariko in high spirits as we see the same scene from Breath of the Wild's true ending. Upon reaching Zora's Domain and talking to King Dorphan and Prince Sidon, we could see another memory going back to the invasion of Zora's Domain. The repelling of this one, and then the heroes of the first invasion heading for the Korok Forest for the Master Sword, before entering Hyrule Castle triumphantly for the ceremony. For the last part of the game, we can see Link and Zelda in the present travel to the Korok Forest and the Great Deku Tree, where it will be revealed that the Master Sword can still not be returned for obvious reasons, forcing them back to Kakariko to talk about the downfall, leading us to those tragic battles, Zelda's awakening, Link's ambulance to the Shrine of Resurrection, and Zelda's deliberation with Impa on the plan to return the Master Sword and then face Calamity Ganon straight on. Zelda does so as we see her sacrifice. Link has already been fully updated on his past battle memories and experience from Age of Calamity, and is ready to face an even greater threat, the imprisoned Ganondorf. In other words, we could see a reversal of how the story and gameplay worked in Breath of the Wild in Age of Calamity, namely where we play and where we only watch cutscenes. In Breath of the Wild, we only watched memories and cutscenes from the past, but played in the present. In Age of Calamity, we obviously play in the past, but could also see cutscenes from the present, as a segue into and out of the story of the past. But more importantly, going over the span of time and events that passed between the defeat of Dark Beast Ganon and Link and Zelda heading down to the cave where Ganondorf is imprisoned. Just as we pointed out a few minutes ago, telling the full prequel story through gameplay and cutscenes while leading into the sequel through the cutscenes in the present is the perfect way to tie the Breath of the Wild trilogy together, and let us start Breath of the Wild 2 in media res. Right in the action in that cave and facing Ganondorf for the first time in a mainline Zelda after 15 years. Well, that and the fact that most recent trailers begin with the memory fade in and fade out, and bear the title Long Lost Memories in the UK or Unknown Memories from 100 Years Ago in Japan. All of these could point to a possible big twist that bring us back to what happened after Breath of the Wild's final battle, leading into Breath of the Wild 2. After all, Nintendo of America tweeted this after the third Chronicles from 100 Years Ago trailer. Quote, "The Hyrule you know, a story you don't." Putting it into different terms, exactly how it is for Link after beating together with Zelda Dark Beast Ganon. But what do you think? Could Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity tell a bigger action-filled story with gameplay set in the past and a shorter cutscene-based experience in the present after Breath of the Wild and leading into its sequel?
We would love to see your thoughts on this in the comment section down below and hear your ideas of how Age of Calamity could intertwine the Breath of the Wild trilogy into something truly special and become Nintendo Switch's greatest legacy. Anyhow, be sure to leave a like as it makes this video visible to more people, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the Commonwealth Realm, press the notification bell and again for all notifications as we are pushing for 300,000 subscribers, first 270,000, then 300,000. And also do that to not miss any Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Zelda Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2 videos. Finally, a big thanks to all our patrons on patreon.com/commonrealm and in particular our royal producer Charles Shash. You rock. And for everyone else, please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.